So till this point, we were able to understand what is an array, right? So basically we have seen this example where, we have an array which has 4 elements, right? We have 3, 7, 2, and 4. Now, if you look at this, can you say this is array of elements? Of course, it makes sense, right? So we can say this is array of elements. Now, can I create something like this? Let's say I want 2 different arrays. So I got this as a first array, let's say 4 elements, and whatever elements we can have here. Let's say 5, 2, 6, 1. So we got this array. And then I also want one more array here, right? Let's say we got, in fact, we need 2 more array. And of course, they will have some values. Doesn't matter. I'm not concerned about the values as of now. We have some values there, okay? And of course, every array need to have a name for it. So can I say this is n1 array, this is n2 array, this is n3 array? We can give any name to an array, right? In this case, I'm just naming them as n1, n2, and n3. Okay, so if you're gonna have multiple values as one array, can we have multiple arrays combined to form one big array? What I'm saying is, can we just have an array of array, something like this? I know that looks weird, but can I use a different color just to make you understand this? What if you can just have an array? So this is a big array which has 3 elements, and this particular array, the bigger element, let's say the outer array, we name it as nums. So this nums array will be having 3 different arrays. That sounds good, right? Now this is called multi-dimensional array. So ignore my spelling there, but this is called a multi-dimensional array. Now how will you represent this? It's very simple. If you want to represent this, we can simply say, hey, I have a nums array which is multi-dimensional, which will have array of array. The way you can achieve that is very simple. You just have to put 2 square bracket, because one square bracket represents that's an array. Now, can we say the nums array is of array of array? Yes, we can. And we have to mention the type as well. So it will be of type integer, let's say. And then you have to say new, and you have to mention again 2 square bracket. Now, but what will be the values here? See, if you have a single array, it's very simple. You can just say the size is 4. But here, if we talk about the size, how will you define it? So if you compare this particular thing, can we say we have one big array which has 3 internal arrays to it? So can I say this is 3 internal arrays, and each array has 4 elements? Let me repeat. In this big array nums, we have 3 small arrays, and each array has 4 elements. Okay, that's how you define it. Now, how will you assign a value to everything? So what you can do is, if you want to represent that in a good diagram here, what I can do is, I will just draw that once again. So we have one big box, and in this box we have 3 sections, and each section has array, and each array has 4 elements. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Simple, right? Now, how will you give numbers to it? So outer array will have number as well. So it will be 0, 0, 1, 2, and each array inside will be having their own indexing. Let's say 0, 1, 2, 3. Now let's say if I want to represent a particular element here. Now what element? So let me just zoom it. What element I'm talking about? Let's say I want to target this element. In fact, let me just fill some values here. 5, 2, 6, 1, 3, 2, 1, 7, 4, 8, 1, 2. Random numbers, okay, nothing in my mind. I'm just giving random values here. And now I want to target, let's say, the first value, 5. How will you target 5? What will be the output for? How will you find this value? So 5 here becomes 0, 0. Simple, right? Because this is 0th row, 0th column. If I want to represent this 6, so this 6 would be 0, 2. If you want to represent this 7, so what do you think? In your mind, if you can think about this, this will be 1, 3. And if I want to represent this 4 here, this will be 2, 0. This 2 would be 2, 3. Okay, that's how you represent the values here. Quite simple, right? So let's try to create this in a code now. So what I will do is I will just remove all the extra things from here. I don't want student anymore. And let me just simplify this stuff. All the code gone. And I'm just assuming that you are doing the code by yourself after watching each video, and that's how you do it, right? It's not just about watching videos, it's also about implementing it. So what I will do now here is I will just create an array of nums, but this will be a two-dimensional array or a multi-dimensional array, and I can say int here. So we want 3 rows and 4 columns. Now there are different ways of saying this 3 rows, 4 columns, or I can say we have 3 rows and each row has one particular array of size 4. As simple as that. And here I can just come back and I can, by default all the values are 0, right? And in fact, let me just do that. Let me print all the values. Now, how do you print it? We can use a loop here. Now the only thing is we have to use 2 loops or nested loops. We have talked about nested loop before as well, but let's try. So what I will do is I will say int I is equal to 0 and I less than equal to, okay, I less than, now what should be the value? It should be 3 for the outer loop, and then I plus plus, and then for the inner loop, see, the outer loop will hover towards all the rows. Now we have to go inside the row as well. So to go to inside the row, we have to say j is equal to 0 and j less than 4 and j plus plus, and here let me print the value. So I will simply say nums of, so what is representing the outer loop? It's I, which represents the outer box, and j for the inner box. Because for every row, we have to start from 0 again, right? Example, if you see here, it will start with 0, and then for every row, it will go for 0, 1, 2, 3, right? Once you reach 3 here, it will jump to the next row, and again it will start from 0, 1, 2, 3. Then it will jump to the last row, and then again it will be 0, 1, 2, 3. Right? So if you want to represent a number, you have to say nums of I and j, because I represents the row and j represents every column here. Okay, let me just run this code. Let's see what happens. I will say clear, compile, and run. You can see we got all zeros. Maybe you wanted to print this in a box structure. What you can do is, instead of printing ln, because ln will print on a new line, you can say, let me print a value and let me also give a space here for after every number. And then once you complete the inner loop, once you print one row, just come on the new line. So I will say, just print ln, it will come on new line. Let's see if this works. Compile, run. Oh, we got it. So we got a two-dimensional array, right? The only thing is I want different values here. So I can assign, but I can assign them manually. I think this is a good time to talk about how do you fetch random values. So, we have this math class in Java, which will give you some random values, right? So this is a inbuilt class which will generate a random value. And to understand that, let me just go to random function. Random function returns a double value. So it returns a double value. If I store that value in temp, or maybe random, the variable name is also random. The only thing is we'll not get integer value. And also I guess the random function gives you a value which is in points, decimal points, greater than or equal to, yeah, basically it will give you value less than 1. So what I can simply do is I can multiply the number by 100. Let's see what happens. So whatever value I receive, I will just multiply that by 100. Again, wait, I'm just doing some experiment here. Now, once you multiply that, we have to also do a typecasting. Now we have to convert that double value into int. Now, whenever you want to convert something, we can use something called a typecasting. So double value will get converted into int here. And I don't want this to be generated only once. So let's say initial value for, I will just cut this part, I will use it later. Initial value for random is 0. And I want to find the new value every time to assign the values here. And I can simply use the same loop, right? Let me just print that statement so that I will have it somewhere. And I will just copy and paste it here to assign the values. This time I will not print values, I will assign the values. So I can say nums of I and j is equal to this value, this formula. I think this should work. I'm not sure what will be the value it will assign. We don't even need this variable basically. But how will I know what value it is printing? So let me also print the value of what it is assigning so that I will know What is happening? So compile and run. Oh, it's assigning 0 values. Why? I think it should be typecasted after we do the calculation. Compile, run. Oh, got it. So you can see we got this random values. So what was happening before is we were typecasting the random values and then we were multiplying by 100. What we have to do is, since random will give you in point values like 0.12 or 0.74, all these 0 point values, we just have to multiply that by 100 so that you will get a double digit number at least, and you will simply typecast it later. Of course, it will have 72 point some values. I'm just typecasting it. And then, yeah, so let me just remove this printing so that you will get the exact box here. Compile and run. If you want single digit, I think multiplying by 10 should work. I'm just assuming, yeah, even multiplying by 10 works because we only want single digit. Yeah, that's how you generate random values. That's how you print it. Random values are fun. Yeah. So one of the library which we have used is math. Okay. We can do one more thing here. So while printing, we have used a normal for loop, right? Can we use a enhanced for loop? Can we? Let's try. So in enhanced for loop, what you do is you use a for loop and then from the array, it gives you the first element, right? Now coming back to our drawing board here, if we talk about this particular array or this array here, it will give you one value at a time, right? So we can simply accept that in an integer variable. But what if two-dimensional array? Here, if we talk about, hey nums, I want the first element, nums will throw the entire array to you. It will not throw one element, it will throw the entire array. And that's what you have to handle. So here you can say int, I will say n. Now n here is not a simple array, or it's not a simple variable, it's an array itself. It is coming from nums, okay? So let me repeat, n is not a simple variable, it's an array, a single dimensional array. So we have to say with square bracket. Now once you get the array, from that array, we have to get the first value. So we have to use one more loop here and you have to say m colon n. Now m is taking the value from the array of n and then we can simply print the value. So I will just remove this bracket. I will say print m because that's the element. And with that, I also want to give a space. And now here I just want to add in the second line. Okay, so both are doing the same thing. Let me prove. I'll clear this, compile, run. So this is printed by the first loop. This is printed by the second loop, the enhanced for loop. So that's how we use two-dimensional array with different types of loops. So I hope you enjoyed. Make sure that you practice this code. See you in the next video.